some more. Here's some more. Let's find a cleaner place right there. Huh? Before, you wouldn't even let me get close to you, huh? You still won't let me touch you, will you, huh? See? Oh, you're really scared, huh? Well, anyway, it's progress, huh? Okay, that's your second batch, okay? But you live right by a restaurant, so I think you get food there, so. Yeah, that guy, he wouldn't even let me get within 10 feet of him before. Anyway, that's progress. That's progress. Okay. Well, good day, everybody. 17th of September, 2023. And today is actually Unity Day in Belarus. And I'm at Ploshad Geopolitical. And, well, here's a casino. And also there's some doors there, and one door is Samsung, one is Apple, and one is Xiaomi, you know, the MI. And I think Huawei is down that way, you know, a Huawei representative. But here on this place, let me show you here. That is Zoom. And there's the statue of whatever the guy's name is, Yakubu Kolisa, down over there. I was at this stop one time before, but made a video, I mean, from here. Of course, I've been here a couple times before. There's also a place, I believe I'm going the right way. Can never be sure. I'm not, I don't know about everything in Minsk, but there is a, yes, I'm in the right place. I had a video, I made a video here, and it was deleted by YouTube because I mentioned something about some laboratories in Ukraine, and they didn't like that at all. So anyway, that was deleted. You know, what kind of activities, or actually what it was tied to. I'm waiting for the light here now, that's why I'm standing here. But as I say, it's Unity Day, and this is the day that Belarus came together again in 1939. It was split up, I believe, in 1921, and the western part, Grodno and Brest, was made a part of Poland. And Poland, apparently, it's not really taught so much here in the schools, but they looked at Belarusian people as slightly inferior as Polish people. So they didn't quite have the same rights. It wasn't like Nazism, I don't think. It hadn't started yet, Nazism, in Europe. But they just weren't quite the same. And very interesting about, you know, what's going on in the world today. It's again, you thought that we kind of got rid of things like Nazism and this notion that one people are superior to another one, but it's all back again. And you see, I think I just made a video. It's the Nazification of the EU, and it's very much alive and well. Just what is it? A few days ago, they had a German official calling the people of the Donbass area Untermenschen, which means subhumans. So, and it's a good thing that they were getting bombed by Ukraine for, I guess, 8 years, and then I believe it was 14,000. I think the reporter said 8,000 people were killed, 8,000 civilians, but I think the real number was close to 14,000. I'm not quite positive, so I should maybe look that one up, because maybe it was 14,000 up till the time of whenever I heard a report. Like I said, I'm not positive myself. So, but anyway, they were killing the people, and of course, they liked it. And Angela Merkel admitted she knew about it. The leader of France admitted he knew about it. And of course, Poroshenko, the leader of Ukraine, he kind of was overjoyed about it, and he said how those people in the Donbass are going to be cowering in their basements, while the children of Ukraine on the western part will be going to school and then going on to college, and the people of Donbass will be spending their time cowering in their basements, you know, because they refuse to denounce the Russian language, what they've been speaking for how many hundreds of years. You know, you can go into the history about that, and it's all, you'll find out who the good guys are and the good bad guys are about that. And it's a very clear, there's a clear line on who the good guys are and the bad guys are. And if you find that out for yourself, and so many people, they just ignore that fact, or they don't accept it, they don't believe it, it's all lies, or they just don't like it. And then you have this German woman that was on this interview. I think she was interviewed by some other German woman who's a reporter in the Donbass. And, you know, she was very happy and very much in favor of the massacre of these people in the Donbass. You know, I guess you call that ethnic cleansing, and that's what, of course, Ukraine planned to do. And that's what this guy named Adolf, he planned to do that. I took some classes in the university, and the professor, at that time it was acceptable. It was acceptable to talk about the crimes of what was going on in Germany, you know, starting in the 1930s. But nowadays, I guess maybe it's supposed to be hush-hush, I'm imagining. So, but anyway, this professor was very well known. He was knighted by the Queen of England, as well as being a personal friend of the Queen of England. And of course, he was highly honored by John F. Kennedy, President John F. Kennedy, and many other presidents. And he was a great professor. And actually, you know, I'm glad he liked me too as a student. When I did papers, he said definitely above standards. And yeah, he was very good. He'd have 400 level classes, you know, your last year of undergraduate school, and he could get 400 people in a class. And normally in history classes, you only get like 20 people, sometimes 15. Maximum anywhere would be like somewhere in the 30s, but he would get 400 because he was such a fabulous lecturer. You might be able to find still some videos about him, a little bit about him. His name is John Bridgman, J-O-N, Bridgman, from the University of Washington. And they even had a waltz, and they probably still have it every springtime, called the Bridgman Waltz. And then everybody's supposed to get dressed up, and they go waltzing or something like that in the University of Washington. But here, again, I'll show you some cars. Look at this, where I'm standing. The poor Belarusian people again. It's Porsche, BMW, another BMW. Of course, nice Audi too, I guess. I mean, it looks good to me. I like that Audi. But anyway, let me take a walk through this area here where I had a video deleted. It's actually a party area in Minsk. And when I was here before, I think they played a little bit of music, but I didn't get any, I don't think, well, I didn't know if I got any strikes because my video was deleted. Maybe not strike, but copyright restrictions. And of course, later things get really jumping here. I like to come earlier, and of course, I wouldn't really want to come here when music's playing because I'd have to cut the sound out. So this side over here gets less action. Let me go around the front. You know, and one good thing is, it looks like what promotes this area is Lidskaya beer. That's from Lida. Matter of fact, that's from the other side of Belarus. Well, the part that was united here with the western side, eastern side of Belarus. So that's on the western side. And like I probably mentioned in other videos, they got so much stuff for kids in Belarus, and very, very, very child-friendly country. Oops. I don't know how to deaden it, I hear. Look at, you can read Russian. Wow, a lot, I guess because it's Saturday, you know, a lot more people here. Look, place over here, you can sit on bean bags. If you can see that over there, behind the baby carriage. Oh, look at, something stands out here. Warsteiner beer. Actually a German beer. I think it's from the Ruhrgebiet of Germany, but that one, I believe, is made in Russia. I had one the other day. When I met with a subscriber, I had first a Lidskaya, even though there's Olivaria and other Russian beers, I mean Belarusian beers, but I tried that Warsteiner and it was not bad. So, Burger Bro. Should get into some news here. I'll get into some news, but thought you might want to have a quick walk through this area here. Sit here on some bean bags and whatever. It must be nice here in the evening time. And there's another side over here. I guess there's 3 aisles you can walk down here. And this is one, but maybe I won't go down this one. It's a little sunnier. The other side is in shade right now. I'd rather be in the sun, but let me go down the other way first. Or actually, I won't go down that way. I'll go down just this side. Look at these cars, a Mercedes. This side is probably a lot more children friendly. Castanian trees. Anyway, you get the idea. So let's get into some news, because a lot of you are here just to hear news more than anything else. So y'all probably know by now that Annalena Baerbock called Xi a dictator. Gosh, I heard that a day or two ago, and I think Alex Cristoforo mentioned that. A lot of good things always in Alex Cristoforo's videos, of course. But yes, just like that other German saying that they're Untermenschen, and those people from the western part of Russia, or eastern side of Ukraine, if you still want to refer to that as being a part of Ukraine. So, yes. It was also mentioned in a meeting between Putin and Lukashenko that this mass use now, it's a huge escalation of using cluster munitions now against, the Russians in this Donbass area, or let's just say the western part of Russia, and they've greatly, escalated this, and it's relentless. They are using cluster bombs like you've never even seen before. And Lukashenko, I believe he was the one that said it's actually the United States doing this. Of course, they're using the hands of the Ukrainians, the hands and the bodies. And it's there was another video that was just released somewhere, and they show Ukrainians making, whenever they get Russian prisoners of war, they make the Russians go through the minefields. And if they turn around, they shoot them. Otherwise, they have to go through and clear the mines to get blown up. So, of course, that's a violation of the Geneva Convention. But when you are on the side of the United States, you don't have to go by any laws or any rules. You can do anything you feel like it, as you already noticed. So you are excused. You're excused from following any laws. And even if there's an allegation against you of not following any rules or laws by any client state of the United States, it's always taken as if it actually is true before there is even any investigation. Sometimes the only times you can get out of it is when it's obvious. It's just like saying Russia blew up their own pipeline. And it became obvious that Russia wouldn't do that, and there were far too many people in the West figured that one out. It's how much brain power does that take to figure that one out? That they would blow up one of their biggest money makers. That didn't happen that long after. I don't know how many years after they were slowing down and practically put to a stop of all the oil that was being sent through the land-based pipelines, the Druzhba branch there, that split into different areas. And of course, the whole thing was to make it so there was only one line that goes through Ukraine, and Ukraine would then charge exorbitant transport fees to Russia to transport oil into Europe, oil and gas or whatever. And I don't know, apparently that didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to, and it's the same thing as this power plant, the Zaporozhye, which is the biggest power plant, although Ukraine has other nuclear power plants, but that was the biggest one, and it was a big dream of Germany to be getting their power when they shut down all of their nuclear power plants, that they would get their energy, their nuclear energy, through that main power plant of Ukraine. And since Russia had control of it, Ukraine is probably even still relentlessly probably shelling it and bombing it to try to get control, because that will be a big income source for them to be selling the electricity to Germany. And that was the whole plan probably of Germany. All these things were probably worked out long in advance, so we can't fool ourselves, to thinking that these things are all just happening spontaneously. Okay, let's go into a little bit more things here. War with Mexico, anybody? You have this pirate guy, Dan Crenshaw. I don't know, does he still wear that pirate patch? He's kind of a strange kind of guy. He acts like he's a double agent or something on the side of humanity on one hand, and then he's actually not. He's actually for the globalists on the other hand, and I don't know, kind of a tricky guy. I wouldn't trust him any more than a used car salesman. He's sort of like a undercover Gavin Newsom type of guy. Gavin Newsom, that's an oily guy. You better have some really good soap to clean your hands if you have to handling that guy. But anyway, these guys, and it also includes Lindsey Graham, and of course there's some other people, they want to invade Mexico. Militarily invade Mexico. And it's of course against the drug cartels. And I remember the days of NAFTA. Remember when I really don't understand, you got to find out what the heck these people are doing and what the big part of the game is. And even if they were able to do this, do you think it's just against the drug cartels? I don't follow Mexico so much. Maybe some of you do. But that's not the whole idea about that. And even these drug cartels, and they're telling us, oh, these people, they control an area bigger than the size of Iraq, and they're better armed than the U.S. military, and all this sort of thing. And maybe there is some truth to some of that. I don't know. Another thing that has been put out about Belarus lately is, doing this economics. And economics, I think Lukashenko was also saying in his meeting with Putin that very soon, I think starting next year, the economies of, I'm not sure if he's meaning Russia and Belarus or just Belarus, is going to be back to the pre-special military operation numbers, which is good, I suppose. I don't know about, because Belarus, they didn't lock down, as you know. So Belarus economy was actually doing very good because they didn't have the lockdowns, and they had Belavia Air, which was making a lot of money flying all over when all the other European airlines were shut down. And then, of course, they staged this thing with Roman Protasevich, I guess his name is, and with the Ryan Airlines, and that was all in operation, obviously. And it was kind of a setup, and you know, they used the Swiss embassy, I guess, and somewhere in Switzerland, and they put out this information that there was a bomb on board, and that Ryanair airplane, what apparently came out afterwards is they had the choice to either land in, I believe it was Vilnius. I'm not quite sure what. Yeah, I believe it was Vilnius, or to land in Minsk, and they chose. The pilot chose instead to land in Minsk. So I guess he had a choice. And Lukashenko, I believe, was just trying to monitor this while they're going over Belarusian territory. And so anyway, that's how that happened. And that kind of a wanted guy, he was on that airplane. And so they arrested him and his girlfriend. And of course now they are free to go. They're free they've been free for quite some time. They were on house arrest here in Belarus. And now they're free, completely free. No house arrest or anything anymore. And I believe that, you know, this Roman Protasevich, if I'm saying his name right, he was even at one time with the Azov battalion in Ukraine, and there's pictures of him there. I don't know what his sympathies are really, or if he was sympathetic to Nazis. I don't think he was ever a Nazi. But anyway, now he's a lot more sympathetic, I believe, to the Belarusian government. And I hope, and I do believe even, that I'm going to have a chance to interview that guy at some point in time. I believe he speaks good English. And that will be very interesting. That'll be very interesting. Because he's no dummy. And, well, we'll see. We'll see. That'll be fascinating. And, you know, anybody that's watching this that has any kind of influence, maybe in my broadcasting in the future, just send that message out if I forget to say that I'd like to interview that guy. You know, talk to him. It'll be fine. Yeah. So, Sergei Serovikin, General Armageddon. He's been spotted in Africa, and apparently he's in charge of some Russian operations in Africa, maybe the entire continent. So, as you know, we haven't heard from him since the Prigozhin deal, and everybody's saying, oh, they arrested him, they killed him, or something like that. You never know whatever's coming out of the West. So anyway, he was spotted in Algeria, and in the photo, you know, you can't tell for certain if that was him, but I think it was. I mean, there's no indication that it wouldn't be him. So anyway, it's kind of rumored still that Russia is using him just for some capacity in Africa, but we'll find out more about that, I guess, as time goes by. And also, you might have heard, and it's been out, I guess, for a couple of days. At least it's very big news. In Africa, the leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have signed a charter alliance for a collective defense. It's sort of a mini NATO in the Sahel states in Africa, and it kind of existed anyway without them signing anything, because they all kind of stand together. And these are all former colonies exploited by France. So this is kind of interesting times in that way. I don't know about France. In France, if they kind of step up and start to be acting like bullies to Niger or anyone like that, it's going to just put them in a bad light. And you notice that there's other places too in Africa, Gabon and all former French places, that are now giving up their, I don't know, I can't say their past, giving up their colonial attitude towards France. And if you know the nature of this back in history, I guess it was the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and nobody knew about this. This was an agreement between Great Britain and France to divide up not only Africa but also parts of the Middle East, such as Iraq. You know, Britain got Iraq, and France gets these countries, Britain gets those other countries, and this was exposed. It was at least one good thing that Vladimir Lenin did in those old days, is he exposed the Sykes-Picot Agreement, you know, where these two colonial powers divided up most of the world between themselves, saying who gets what. you get to control these countries and we control those countries. You know, very interesting times, at least during those times. It says. So it's something you might want to look into. And I don't know, people don't talk about that so much either. It's sort of like this, what was that agreement with that, for Israel? And that was the agreement for the Zionists at that time to get a hold of Israel. And that was some sort of agreement with a nobility guy. I shouldn't have even opened up my mouth because I'm forgetting what that is. I should talk about that as well. But anyway, they have all these secret agreements and all over the place. They're having them still today. That's why you can realize what's going on whenever you hear these kind of sneaky little things and anybody talking about conspiracy theory. You know, it's sort of like I can't remember who was saying this, but it was when Annalena Baerbock was getting asked questions, and of course she steered it. I think it was Alex Christoforo. It was something about Russia and Ukraine, and she was steering it towards China. So apparently Germany thinks that they're going to declare some sort of a war, economic or otherwise, with China. I don't know. Good luck on that one. I'll tell you what, they can't really wage any war anymore against Russia or China in any form or fashion. So they're still doing that in Russia. And then I heard some rumors that with this huge, heavy, escalation in artillery, and particularly cluster munitions artillery, that in at least in a major area, that Ukraine has actually taken the first front line of defense of the Russian defenses in an area in the Donbass, and now they are actually occupying those. But of course there's 2 more lines to go, and Russia always seems to find a solution to whatever Ukraine comes up with. And I kind of suspected, if I were Russia, I would be now also using cluster munitions on those positions that are taken over yet by the French, and then I would use them to twice the degree that the West is using them. The United States, of course, is the one that opened up that can of worms, and of course these cluster munitions are banned. They're banned, they're illegal, but I don't know. Let's just leave it at that. And do you remember Podolyak? Podolyak, he's always somebody to watch. I guess he's a permanent clown world for Alex Christoforo. He could be, or anybody. The guy's so wrapped up into his ideology of, and of course it sneaks out, and he can't really contain himself by talking like a normal human being. So his Nazism comes out all the time. And he was saying that, as you all know, this is old news. This is some days ago, that he was saying that the Indians and the Chinese, and of course the Turks are in there as well. He basically very clearly said that these are inferior people and they don't have the ability to analyze things. And then of course he tried to cover himself afterwards, and his covering, he never admitted that he was wrong. He just came out with a bunch of other crap afterwards. Pretty interesting guy. And the response, I believe, was from India, was said, yeah, that's why we're on the moon and you're still stuck in minefields. And in truth, there's a lot more into this than you can even imagine. When you seek to call yourself the master race, or what Obama said, the exceptional people, or what the Zionists say, God's chosen people, anybody who thinks that they're better ethnically or by their blood, better than anybody else, it's even interesting. So why don't you stick somebody like that, even in a cage with a hungry lion, and then find out who's superior on that one. So I don't, and a lion isn't even a human. They can't sit in a classroom and take notes or anything like that. But I tell you what, you're going to lose. So this notion of superiority, I guess it's only exists in certain environments. And when it comes to brain power, I sort of think the collective Chinese and the Indians, and to a large extent even the Russians, of course, are more superior than even the Ukrainians. So, but I'm not going to be saying that. Like I said, it depends maybe on your environment and many other things. Culture, you know what, you can find some people that go around in leather breeches or something somewhere in the forest and throw spears around. It doesn't mean that they're worse than the people that throw nuclear bombs. So, matter of fact, they probably are more superior when you think about it. Who would come up with some sort of a thing like that, and then we're all stuck using it? And then, I don't know, let's not get into that. So, anyway, ouch for the Ukrainians, you know. Russell Brand, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing what's going on now with Russell Brand, if you heard about that? I'm just hearing about it. I have to find out a little bit more information, and I'm sure we're going to find out a little bit more as time goes by, or maybe not. Maybe they'll try to keep this hush in, I don't like to say the mainstream media, because it really isn't mainstream. More people get their news off the internet, off independent sites, than they do off CNN. I guess you'd call it the corporate media. And the corporate media, they may not even mention that, or they would just say it in a negative light and spin the information. But they're using the same playbook as they did with Julian Assange and Donald Trump. They're saying, I think he raped somebody, they're saying. You know, here this guy is, he had gotten a, he was like, I don't know, many years ago, who knows, 15 years ago maybe, he had a drug problem. And anyway, now his life is completely straightened out. He's got, I guess, 2 children, and he's got 1 on the way. And now they're coming up with some rape charges, and yeah, it makes you wonder how much they paid. I mean, a guy like him, really tall guy, if you showed him, or if you showed 10 women Russell Brand, a lot of them would be attracted to him, most of them. So he could take his pick from a lot of women. So why would he even think about doing something like that? It's not like you're like some Weinstein guy or something that doesn't really look too appealing to any woman, even though you got a lot of money, and you can get all sorts of women just because you're money too, you know. And of course, Epstein is of course a different thing. A lot of different things about that. And if you've even heard about Prince William lately, apparently there is some evidence that when he went to Kiev, and this was even long after these allegations of him with on this island with gosh, now I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, Weinstein, not Weinstein's island. Harvey Weinstein. Well, anyway, all these allegations against Prince Andrew, you know, thought those were in the past. But even after that, apparently, there's some witnesses and some, you know, people that came out and they gave testimony, apparently, at least on video camera, that they had, under orders, arranged a meeting with Prince Andrew. And anyway, you know what I'm getting at. I might get deleted if I say that. I get a little bit too, if I get a little bit too graphic here. That's not going to be that graphic, but even just, because here you're talking about the royal family now, so I'm, you know, that's about as far as I'm going to go there. So, the president of the European Central Bank, I guess this is also recent, Christine Lagarde, she seized temporarily 26 members of the governing council of the European Central Bank. She seized their phones to prevent some leaks. And I guess what they were doing is they were trying to cover up some kind of a selection process of who is going to be appointed as the top banking supervisor, you know. And part of that has something to do with the inflation rates and the borrowing rates, you know, the interest rates from the bank. So it makes you really wonder there's something kind of crazy going on about that. So keep your eyes open. I'm not a big financial genius. I'm just a small financial genius. No, I don't know. Just keep your eyes on that. NATO has now come out and they've said that they can field 3.5 million soldiers. And I'm thinking that might include the entirety of the U.S. is probably what they're getting at. The United States has approximately a 1 million man military. And Russia is actually working up towards that. I don't know how high that is right now because they're getting a lot of volunteers. You know, and technically speaking, the United States, which has a much larger population than Russia, technically speaking, theirs is a volunteer military. So, but Russia is actually doing much better. A lot of people are very, I don't know if you want to say nationalistic. Anyway, they're very pro-Russia. And I don't think there's that many Americans that are pro-America, seeing what America's been doing all over the world. So, yes. And I don't know, how many are in the military in China? I don't know. I just knew they had a much bigger military than the United States. So what is it? What do they have? They have also maybe 3 million. And Russia's going to have 1 million. But I'll tell you what, I would bet my money more on 1 million man military from Russia than I would the 3 million man military from NATO. So, and NATO says they can deploy 300,000 soldiers in case of any hostilities with Russia. They can employ 300,000 soldiers within a month. So why are they saying this? I don't know. Why do they come up with this stuff? Very, very, very curious about that one. Also, the United States, their second, they import fertilizer. Most of their fertilizer comes from Canada. The second largest amount comes from Russia, believe it or not. And Russia, I believe, has just sold them $944 million, nearly. That's getting close to $1 billion worth of fertilizer. So it makes you wonder. So anybody else who gets anything from Russia is punished, except the U.S. can get anything they want from Russia. Isn't that weird? And of course they get some amounts of fertilizer from other countries, like a lot of times I think from the United Arab Emirates and some countries like that, which probably in a sense is probably Russian fertilizer anyway. So you can probably say that the U.S. gets more fertilizer from Russia, I would imagine, than they do from Canada. That might be their chief source of fertilizer. Hey, I've never been over this way. Let's take a look at what we're going to here. Oh, I know where I'm going. This is the back way towards that market. Okay. Actually, at the moment, I don't really have much of anything else more to say. That cat at the very beginning of this video, and that was a calico cat that before me feeding it today, twice, first time I didn't get on camera, and then I said, hey, well, maybe I should film this guy or girl or whatever it is, and it's a stray cat, unfortunately very unfriendly. It might have some good human friends, I don't really know, but anyway, I'm getting a little bit closer to it, at least it allowed me to get almost in touching distance from it. Maybe it'll start to recognize my voice now. I tried to feed that in the past and it wouldn't even go close to the food. So, and even when I walked away, I don't think it even went to the food. I sense that it's probably getting fed from this restaurant that it hangs around right there. It's always right there by this restaurant. And it's not afraid of people walking by, so it doesn't go and run and hide anywhere. So it's out in the open, pretty much in that area that I showed you, and yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I like cats anyway. So, but if I don't say anything more, then I'll end this video now and say thanks for joining me very much, and I'll see you on the next one. So, bye bye.